Good morning, everybody. This is Eric Lloyd. I'm the Managing Director for the ESB project. Let me just get rid of this sound here. The purpose of today's AMA is to really address a lot of the questions that the community has had. We've been very quiet for the last many months now, like 6 or 8 months here. I think the last AMA session that we did was in February. And a lot's happened since then. We've been working pretty hard. So what we'll do is we'll just have a very quick recap of what's happened in the last couple of months, to get us to where we are today, and what is the future for ESP and where we're going. I think this is probably the most important topic that everybody is very interested in. But anyways, that being said, just as a quick history here, we started the project back in June of 2021. Went through the summer, building up the community, writing the contract for the token, getting things certified, beginning the marketing, taking part in a bunch of events. We eventually went on to Bitmart, our exchange, in October, where then we started the hardcore marketing, and we had a day one out of the gate a liquidity event, so we had a little recovery there that caused us to want to do a rebranding, and we went for a second round of funding, and this will become apparent why that's important in a few minutes. And during that time, we started to drive the market. We had a certain amount of market making funds available to help stimulate the market and try to drive the adoption of ESP. The whole reason for ESP was to support the various use cases that we had in education, solar, and payments. And primarily the first emphasis was going to be around the educational products. So as we're nicely building up momentum for the token, we had embarked on a fairly aggressive marketing campaign, and then we ran into the hack that happened at Bitmart, where Bitmart was, I believe, hacked for about 340 million USD in various tokens and whatnot. SafeMoon was one of the big ones that was taken at that point. And that was right at the beginning of our marketing spend. So we committed funds for, driving the token. And essentially what that did, what had happened is Bitmart's reaction was to actually halt all deposits and withdrawals from the platform for a period of time. And actually for us, it was around 10 days. And so the money that we had spent at the beginning of that process was basically wasted, because everybody that tried to get on for the next 10 days based on all the marketing that we had spent on couldn't get on, couldn't register or take part. Ultimately, caused us a lot of difficulty because what happened is volume dropped off in the token, and then we saw it basically crater. So, I'm not blaming Bitmart so much as that, we're the victim of a unfortunate circumstance. We're not the only ones. Everybody on Bitmart felt a lot of pain. Especially a lot of the new projects were significantly impacted. And that's just the nature of the beast. And that's part of the problem with cryptocurrency. So, this is not unique to a Bitmart scenario. They've been super supportive going forward about, giving us time to rebuild and get going forward, which is one of the reasons why we're discussing about this on the AMA. So they've been really good so far. So in the end of December, as I mentioned, we had a second round of funding where the second round actually had an exit at the end of December, and a component of that also flowed into January of 2022, which is where we saw again another liquidity event that had downward pressure on the token. This was an unfortunate byproduct of some agreements that we had, and there was obviously a preference given for that secondary money that came in. The original investors had to wait for all that to happen, so they were dramatically impacted by that liquidation event. And today, where we haven't seen much trading and basically the prices bottomed out, the majority of the initial seed investors have held on to their tokens and are patient and waiting for the growth of the token. So there's a lot of incentive to keep going with the project, moving this forward and getting up and running. Part of the reasons for having the token was actually to provide funding for the development of the use cases, specifically Talk to Expert and our School Connect product. Because we had the liquidity event and the crash and all the things that happened, effectively the use cases didn't receive any funding for development. So, trying to figure out what we're going to do going forward, and wanting to support the token, the project took it amongst ourselves to try to develop out the various things that we needed, including the first use case, Talk to Expert, such that it can start to drive liquidity in the token. And the way it was going to do that is basically ESP is a utility token. It's meant to be used in the platforms. So by using the platforms, we would start to get some natural volume in terms of trade, which actually start to stimulate the interest and then hopefully bring more people on and spread adoption. But that's taken its time to develop. At the beginning of the year, we wanted to first offer a staking solution, which we've done. We've also broadened the token itself from moving from Ethereum to also a Binance Smart Chain version, so that was launched. And then one of the bigger development efforts that actually we've undertaken was the bridge between Ethereum and BSC. If everybody's been looking at the news over the last several months, all the major hacks that have happened, like you've heard about Axe Infinity and the Solana hack and whatnot, all these hacks or exploits have actually happened in the bridge, not the actual blockchain itself. It's the communication between the two bridges that get compromised, because they're two dissimilar systems that the bridge has to create some kind of link. And it's in that link where they're being exploited and huge amounts of funds being extracted. We were very wary of this, and that ended up adding at least 8 weeks to the development of our bridge, because we took that security really, really seriously. And the intercommunication between the two networks, the two blockchains, authorized signing and the contracts that are in place to make that all work in a way that is virtually unhackable unless somebody knows our architecture, can divine 3 different secret keys held in different servers in different parts of the world and coordinate everything together. Maybe then they'd be able to crack that. But it was a significant effort on our side and more effort than we thought. But once that was done, then it was on to starting the process of building out Talk to Expert. So we began that development effort. We also started engaging in the business development side for Talk to Expert, meaning getting content creators, getting partnerships in place and whatnot. And we have a stable of 15 or 18 parties that were committed to making content for the platform going forward. So we were pretty plussed by the fact that we had that interest moving forward. It did take us quite a bit more time than we wanted for the development of Talk to Expert. And this is primarily, again, because we've been drilled down to a very small team of 1, 2, or 3, depending on on the day. And it's been a fairly monumental undertaking, but I'm happy to report that we've got our first minimum viable product complete in Talk to Expert, so everybody can see it at talktoexpert.io. We're beginning to hopefully start to drive some revenue. The issue that we're having today is that of the 18 content developers that we're promising courses, currently we only have 3 that are on the platform that are active. There'll be a 4th one and a 5th one relatively soon, but we're still way short of the content that we expected for launch. We really want to have 10 courses, which makes it easier to market. We'll show up in a lot more searches because we have more content that's going to be indexed by Google, so that it'll start to drive a whole lot more content. So that again has been one of the driving factors where we're trying to boost the revenue. Because we're paying 80%, between 70 and 80% of the revenue to the content developer, that 70-80% is going to be paid or at least held in ESP. Then it will be up to the content developer to either receive that in ESP, or if they want that converted into fiat money and a direct wire transfer, which some will do, then we'll do that on their behalf. But the nice thing here is that once we have some significant revenue coming in, the corporation, Talk to Expert, will have to have quite a, hopefully a large float of ESP that are held by the various content creators. And so that will be on a constant cycle where we're constantly buying tokens, and again driving liquidity into the token base, and again hopefully driving up its value. So that's kind of where we've been with the what's gone on the last 6 or 8 months. Moving forward, we're still leveraging new partnerships. I think we're going to have a real good one to discuss, actually a celebrity partnership, hopefully in the next week or so. And again, this is not just a celebrity partnership for content coming on the platform, but this is also a strategic partnership for, as a market influencer, a connector, and can really help drive the growth of the use case. Again, the reason why I'm so focused on the use cases, especially with Talk to Expert, is that is going to be what drives ESP. A lot of people have asked many times over the last several months, when are we pumping the token? Why aren't we doing marketing? All these types of things are, I get asks for many different AMAs, and continually there's this question is, why aren't we stimulating the token through marketing efforts? And I think you have to take yourselves, every one of you that are holders out here are investors. If you went to look at a project that has been basically flatlined for 4 or 5 months, there's probably not a lot of incentive for, even when you see marketing, to go out and purchase, right? Because there's no volume, and it would just scream high risk. This is why it's so important for the use case to drive liquidity in the token by making purchases, and therefore driving up trade volume. Trade volume is a real important thing for us all. It's one of the things and requirements that we need to remain on Bitmart. So far, Bitmart has been very cooperative. They've been patient, but that patience won't last forever. And so, we should have some fire under our feet in order to, try to get that volume back. Our requirement is basically $100,000 worth of trade volume per day. And, when the token is actually active, we exceeded that on several or many days. I think we had a peak volume at one point of over 300,000. But nonetheless, I don't think the the volume is going to be an issue once we're, freely trading again and there's liquidity there. So, people can liquidate their tokens when they want, and there's volume to keep new investors happy that it's an active token. And this is the reason why, I've refrained from spending money on AMAs or other marketing, because we can do all the marketing in the world, and we've done some tests on this already, that are going to yield virtually zero results. We were getting some payoff when the token was liquid, but it was a fairly large spend for, I'm not sure how much return, but again, we didn't have enough time to really drive up the market to reap the full benefits. But it wasn't fast. And today, if we did the marketing, I'll argue that we'll end up getting zero. Now, that means we have a huge monumental task in front of us. I'll be the first one to say that, or answer the question like a lot of people say, it's a dead token, we're not alive, nothing's going on. It's a huge amount of activity going on in terms of, again, as I said, business development, partnerships, and of course, we're still going down the investment strategy side. Again, this is a multi-pronged approach. So we're not dead, but we're dormant, or we have been dormant, but now we've got to get out of dormancy because, Talk to Expert is finally coming alive. It's, as we start to add content, we're going to start to drive some volume. And once that we start to get some small volume, doesn't have to be even a lot of volume, and not even hit the 100,000 that we have to hit with Bitmart. But once we start to get, some volume happening on Bitmart, then we are able to start investing in things like AMAs, because then people will come as a result of the AMA or some marketing, see that there's volume and say, hey, now's a time to get while it's at the bottom, before it goes up. There's a possibility for some real profit, which has always been the ideal story that we've been trying to tell everybody, because that's, the expectation. Again, it's a utility token, and so we actually have business, at least one business now, that's going to be using the token. But ideally, that token is going to exist in a whole ecosystem of businesses that we have, and that is one of the main differentials between us and other projects, where other projects really are just riding on hype and marketing and momentum. And if momentum's lost, then the bottom falls out and there's nothing really to support the token. At least we're going to have now the business to fall back on to provide liquidity into the token, and it'll continually buy out of the market. So whether that's slow or fast, at least investors can see that purchases are happening and they can gain confidence. So I want to make sure, I've been talking here for now like 10 or 15 minutes, and please post your questions into the various chats, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. And the idea for me being here today is really to address the questions that the community has. Criticisms or whatever, that's fine as well. But certainly I'm looking at trying to address any questions that you have, so we can kind of clear the air a little bit. Everybody knows what we're going forward. Now, today as it sits, as I continue on, our strategy still remains the same, where we're trying to drive new business into the token through the use case. How are we doing that? Well, first of all, as I mentioned, we've got some new partnerships that we're really excited about, that's going to bring content to the platform and ultimately drive some revenue. We are going to begin a small campaign, I think either today or tomorrow, really to capture more content creators so they would come on the platform. And I'm actively pursuing some existing influencers that exist on TikTok and on YouTube and other platforms that say, hey, can you put a package together, a nice little course that you want to put out there, that we're going to really market into Vietnam, UAE, Brazil, Africa, India, the developing nations of the world, at this ultra low price, but to hopefully drive some volume. Can you put something together for us real quickly, because you already have you can repurpose a ton of content that you have, so we can get that quickly online. So that's one of the other things we're doing. In the background, I've been having virtually nonstop discussions with a huge set of investors. Again, this is to help drive Talk to Expert, but also our much bigger use case, which is School Connect. There we're looking at trying to raise between 5 and 6 million euros to fund that project and go forward. It really is not a project that can be done without significant financing. So I'm currently in negotiations with 5 of them, and that's an ongoing battle every day. Each deal has got its own nuances, approach, the type of deal, which means that, you change your forecast, your business plan a little bit to mirror what, how to work with this particular or different investors, and, whether the investor is a strategic investor, they're more integrated into how you run your operations, versus a financial one, which is basically, here's some money and you pay me a whack of interest. There's different levels there. Those are easier to provide information for, but harder to convince on side, because we're again in a startup mode and we're not an existing business. So going through the risk assessment process, it's something that we have to address. So we're doing those things, and we're doing that at 2 different levels. One for School Connect and another for Talk to Expert. And one of the reasons where we're going to try to raise some funds, even though the platform is virtually done now, or at least in its first phase done, but there will be ongoing updates, is that we've decided to commission 10 courses. So we'll pay a content developer to create a course for us directly, which would be a course that's owned by Talk to Expert, and put it online. So having 10 of our own courses does 2 different things. One, we have more content, so therefore driving up the viewership. And 2, because it's now Talk to Expert owning the course, we're not paying out 70 or 80% to a content creator. We'll take the lion's share of that profit. And that profit there is now obviously some of it's going to go in some pockets, including mine. And let's be honest here. But primarily is to help accelerate the growth of the business. So more marketing, more incentives put in place to get content developers online. And then it becomes a snowballing effect. More content, more consumers, more profit. So then we can do more marketing, and then more people, and we can pay for more content, and again snowball that into a much larger going concern. So that's the main focus, and part of that profit as well. We hope is that we can drive that business, the Talk to Expert business, such that we can actually fund the development of School Connect. So at least get that done to a minimum viable product, which makes it more appealing on the investor level for the actual business rollout in various regions of the world, where we have a good agreement in Brazil. We have agreements in UAE, and huge opportunity in Vietnam that we really want to move forward with. So once we have we're closer with a finished product, it's easier to get investment to help move those along. And the nice thing there is that, as we had always said in all our documentation a year ago, is that funding the use cases means that the use cases will have to pay back a percentage of their profit into the project, and that profit is then used to do a buyback and burn program. So we've always been committed to doing the buyback and burn program on the Ethereum side. And so if we can get Talk to Expert to bootstrap School Connect and School Connect out in the market, then we have a vehicle that's using the token, and also providing the project profit where it can do the buyback and burn, right? And that buyback and burn is just boosts the value of the token for all the token holders, and does all the things that we originally intended in our original vision. And once we have those businesses operational, then we can start to focus on the S and the P, the solar and the payment side. Again, we've got some agreements, though I think one is now expired on the payment side that in Africa that we'd like to reinvestigate because that's a great open market. But again, we need to have some success under our feet now in order to get that active. So we have a real elongated roadmap. We know where we're going. We know how to get there. And now we're looking at the community to help us try to grow Talk to Expert. If any of you are content creators, reach out to me. Let me know if you want to do a course. I'll help you get that online as quick as possible. The more content we get, the faster we're generating revenue and then purchases of ESP and driving volume for the token, which is what everybody needs. Of course, any content creator that comes to us that's developing outside, they're going to earn between 70 to 80% of the revenue, and the real difference there is 70% is paid if Talk to Expert, meaning us, is helping you create the course, meaning we're doing some asset creation, either shooting video or editing all the video, doing overlays, any of that kind of work. Then we're only paying 70% to the content creator. 80% is if the content creator just comes to me with a ready-made course and we just basically have to chop it up and put it online, they'll earn 80% of the revenue. So basically every $8 they're getting over $5 of that revenue. Each course is sold at $8 each. So please let me know if reach out to me either on Telegram or you can get to me on the different links on the various websites, whether it's the ESP website or the Talk to Expert. So talktoexpert.io will get you the platform. And actually, I can probably show you what that looks like. Let's go here. And let's see here. So it's, again, this is up and live. So the courses are available. So we do really want to add courses to the overall platform. An example, one of the courses are basics of stock investing. So everybody can kind of see how that works. And we have, it's, I think a little bit over, I can't read the numbers because it's so small, but I think it's over 2 hours long in terms of course content. We'll have many courses that run, beyond 8 or 10 hours. Anyways, for good value for $8. And that was the whole premise here, is that we wanted to get it into the parts of the world that were, a $30 or $40 course, which is a huge barrier to entry. So that was significant. And it's also one of the reasons why this ultra low cost is one of the reasons why we created our own platform as opposed to using the canned platform that already exists out there, because these canned platforms are typically there's a monthly recurring fee, there's a percentage or whatever. When we looked into that, there was no real way to make us any profit when we used a third-party platform. So making the platform ourselves, we have full control over the look and feel, functionality, as well as ability to extend it over time. Two, our expertise is in scalability. So we know how to build platforms that can support millions of simultaneous users, or hundreds of millions of transactions per day type of thing. And that's the our secret sauce in bringing that to market, and having the ability to scale both vertically and horizontally allows us to have tight control over the costs. So our deployment costs are relatively low, which allows us to provide this very low cost pricing for the consumer. Okay, I was kind of hoping that we'd have a couple of questions here to address. I'm just going to take a peek here at Telegram to see if anybody's asking anything. Yeah, lately it's been just a lot of people asking about the AMAs. I've also mentioned that we have done some purchases already out of the market, both on the BSC side through PancakeSwap, as well as Bitmart. But there, there's I think in total we purchased $1,000, $1,200 or something like that. It's not a huge amount yet. And when we're going through that process, because right now, people are paying with a credit card, funds go to our payment processor, they get held there for a period of time, and then they end up, getting sent to us via wire transfer. Then we have to convert, again, if we want to get those funds in the Bitmart, I have to take that fiat cash, send it to an exchange that accepts fiat, like Coinbase or Binance, and in this case it's Coinbase, to convert it to either Ethereum or USDT, so then we can send it to Bitmart and then do the purchases of the tokens out of the market. So that process takes a couple of days when we, even when we get going very quickly, because the wire transfers typically take 24 hours and so on and so forth. The problem with when the revenue is very low is that the cost of doing the wire transfers, we got a wire transfer coming in from Stripe in this particular case. There's a cost associated with that. Then we have to send from the company to the exchange. So that's an hour wire transfer, which for us is I think 38 British pounds, or about $50 US to process each wire transfer. So it's not economical to send even just $500, because I don't want to be paying 10% of everybody's hard-earned money in fees. So we've made a kind of a line, drew a line in the sand, where we will only be doing transfers in at a minimum of $2,000. So if we have $2,000, we'll send it and do the purchases. If it's below $2,000, then we'll wait. So when we first turned on the platform, Talk to Expert, there was an initial spike. Mostly, I think this is people through our networks that were buying some courses. So we had a few dollars come in for starting the platform, but it's we need to drive up the volume. We've just recently finally been indexed by Google, so we're starting to see some organic search volume there. Once we get a couple more courses online, then we'll begin more paid cost per click advertising with Google AdWords and some other things, some banner ads. Probably, that's going to probably now flow into about the middle of, I think, October when that will start. Again, it also depends if we get some fruit from our efforts in terms of getting content creators from existing influencers or whatnot that have ready-made content. I think what's happened is, of the 18 content creators that we have, many of them have never developed content before. And then, sitting down and doing the scripting and the work and the shooting and getting the lighting right, making it look good, all of a sudden realizes that, it's a more complicated process than, doing a TikTok video, outside, or, sitting in a nice lounge somewhere. It takes planning, takes time, and, ultimately, it's a bigger effort. Now, I'm going to say that, it's an effort that, probably lasts a couple of weeks. It's a couple of weeks of fairly significant effort, but then it becomes, a long-term passive income maker for you. So I think the payoff is good over time, especially if the content doesn't become dated, right? So if it's a skill set that you're trying to teach somebody, that's going to be good for several years. There's several years of streamed earnings that you'll get out of that content. So I think it's well worth the investment. But anyways, I think this is probably one of the primary factors for not having a lot of content ready is because a lot of these content creators have realized that it's a bigger job than what they were prepared for, and we're going to lose a couple. Like some have just said no, I'm not ready now. I have to delay for 3 or 4 months or whatever, and because they're doing it under their own resources, I can't push them very hard to do anything. When we commission our own courses, of course, then we'll have timeline schedules, production staff, to get content done, and there'll be a lot more predictability to when content will be available to go online. In the past, I had errantly reported that, oh, we got content coming, coming, but it never arrives, and the question is why, and it's because it takes a lot more effort than one would realize. Okay, I don't see any questions right now. Just making sure I'm still streaming. Yep. Any parting questions from anybody in the audience today? Please put it in the chat. I'm trying to remember what else is here in Telegram. I keep getting asked, any update. Hopefully this AMA kind of gives you an idea where we're at. The significant struggle that we have. We're, very resource constrained. We've, the hack and everything, the aftermath of that, and the liquidity event that, by contract that we had to adhere to, basically gutted the project. You can't hide that. You can't say, oh, we're sitting on a pile of money or whatnot. No, we're not. We've self-financed this. I've spent 100% of my time on ESP related things, either moving Talk to Expert forward, moving School Connect, dealing with investors, whatever it might be, in order to push this forward. And really, I'm at the point now where I also have to see some revenue come back in. So we're really making every effort possible, and this is because I feel ethically that we should do everything possible to stand by to do what we said we were going to do, and to support the investor base that's out there. And I really appreciate the people that have come and talked to me. I've had quite a battle with a gentleman by the name of Jesse, and we've had it back and forth, and some heated discussion. But I understand the perspective, and over the last day or so, we've been able to have a more constructive discussion and ideas, which is great, and that's fine. And I'm certainly open to listening to the input that people have. What I'm adverse of doing is just, let's try something, throw it up on the wall and see if it sticks. We don't have the resources, and I can't waste money like that. I've got to go down the sure path of what's going to drive the business, what's going to produce recurring revenue. And recurring revenue is what we need in order to drive, continuous trading, continuous volume on Bitmart and Pancake Swap to interest investors, because new blood into the token is definitely something we need. If there's a way to get an angel investor that wants to scoop up a bunch of tokens or bring some liquidity in, I'm all ears to listen to how to make that happen. But certainly, I think the plan has got to be that the project needs to perform. We're not really asking you as individuals, hey, buy more tokens. You haven't heard me say that for quite a while. It'd be great if you would, but I think that that ask is a difficult one. If you guys have some ideas to help move this along more quickly, I'm all ears. But again, come to me with something that is significant. Just let's market or do AMAs. Well, what do you expect the output when you see what our graph looks like? We can't just do these things willy-nilly and just throw things up. So we got to make sure that what we're going to do and anything that we undertake is got a payoff associated with it. But more importantly, again, I think this has got the longest term and highest return in terms of benefit is getting content creators. So if you have ideas or relationships or people, and I don't care anywhere in the world where this comes from, let's get them on the platform. We have a lady from the UN. She's done 2 courses actually, Janice De Silva. She's done 1 course in English and another course in Portuguese, in Brazilian Portuguese. So we'll be targeting those different areas. Expectations that we're going to be doing courses in Hindi for India, Vietnamese for Vietnam, French for a good chunk of the majority of Africa. These are all things that we expect to do. And each one of those courses that are in one of these non-English languages are going to be subtitled for English. And once we have English subtitles for everything, we will be, again, doing subtitling for Vietnamese and all the other languages that we're going to directly support. But that support will grow out over time. But again, it's all part of the roadmap and part of moving this platform forward. All right. I appreciate everybody listening in today. I think these streams will be available for broadcast on the site, so it can be replayed at any time. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions again. I'll try to answer them offline, but certainly I hope you got the background about where we're at, where we're going. I think the future for ESP is great. If we get a little bit of luck and a bit of performance out of the courses that we get, I'm really confident that we have something that's going to work for everybody. And we'll start to see volume in the token and hopefully a resurgent interest. The market has been bad. Bitcoin where it has come down to, I think it was like 19,000 US today and whatnot. The changes in Ethereum, Ethereum 2 now out, so the move from proof of work to proof of stake is significant. So it makes things for ESP a little bit easier there. We were burdened by crazy Ethereum costs earlier this year, and hopefully, with that being dramatically reduced, and we've seen that now. If you look at the cost of doing Ethereum transactions, it's come way down over the last couple of months. Makes the adoption in smaller amounts for ESP also easier. So we're excited about the prospects. I'm 100% behind the project. We have 3 different volunteers that are putting in time. They're not being paid currently. Obviously, there's an expectation of some kind of benefit for them going forward, and certainly they have that. But I'm really grateful for some of the marketing people doing the artwork and the website work and whatnot for us that have made everything possible, because doing the majority of this by myself is not sustainable, because I just can't get everything done. So having a tight-knit group of supporters, partners, helping move this forward will help this grow. And they believe what the project's about. I believe it, and hopefully you folks in the field there that have been nicely supporting ESP continue to do so. So I thank you very much, and again, I look forward to seeing you out there in the forums. This transmission ends now.